Hello, everyone. Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes, and holding up the show is Cameron Riley. How are you, Cameron?
Feeling great. Again, shout out to Black and Fit with my chair pose. Okay,
Okay.
holding up the
Okay.
show just right. Right.
Nice. Nice. Cameron, I'm not sure about Damon, but I do know that Ahmed had a previous engagement, so he's not able to join us. Hopefully, Damon will as
All
we
right.
go along. How are things with you?
Things are going well. It was supposed to be like a very cold 34, 35 degrees, but with like the unobstructed skies, it felt like it was like 40 or 50, and I
Oh,
was a little
wow.
disturbed. But I was like, you know what? Forget it. Let the sunshine in, as they say.
Right. Nice, nice. We went to New York this weekend, and everybody's saying, "Oh, the storms are coming, snow and
Hmm.
rain and cold and everything." And when we got into New York Sunday, it was about 55 degrees.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Perfect.
and it was rainy, but it was, it was manageable.
Yeah.
Um,
You go into
it,
LaGuardia or JFK?
yeah, yeah, into LaGuardia.
Hmm.
Um, so it wasn't bad. And then we went to the theater Sunday night, and coming out, it was pouring down, but it still wasn't cold.
The
And
theater or the
yes, we
movie
went to the
theater?
theater. We went to see Pearlie, the play
Ah,
that was written by Ossie Davis 60 years ago,
yes.
and Leslie Odom Jr. People
Hmm.
who've heard me talk about this yesterday may understand.
Speaking of Leslie Odom Jr.,
The
here,
star of stage and screen.
yes.
Hello, Damon. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Sorry for the slight delay. I was on a interview from the show that I'm on tonight here in St. Louis. So I was doing one of these, and she ran over. She was so excited.
Oh,
Oh,
nice, nice, nice. That's great.
fashionably way
Speaking
ahead.
of so excited, I heard that you went live with your show that you were doing for a suburban Chicago police department last week.
Oh, really?
And they not know who you were? Did they not know your comedy? What was the deal?
Oh no, they were fine when I was up there. It was the gentleman before me that I was
Oh.
recording and commentating on. Now, mind you, it was the South Suburban Police Department, and it was a predominantly clear audience, as
Mhm.
we like to say. But he was doing all his hood stuff. Like for instance, and he was still funny. He at the part I showed in the beginning, it was kind of a struggle because it was just not relatable situations. Like one of his first joke out was something about giving up for all the police officers stepping over those thick ass Venezuelans and going home to their wives. And then he said,
That's hilarious to me, but I can,
My
yeah.
"It is
God.
funny." And then he said, how many people in this room was raised by a mother on house arrest? All right, so I'm like, read the room, Mitch. It's not your people.
Oh my
They are the people
God.
who put people's mamas on house arrest. So I was just
Right.
doing really funny commentary, and the live is still up on my Instagram. If you all want to visit that occasion, I kept it
Oh
up for about 15 minutes. Yeah, it was hilarious though.
oh my gosh. That reminds me, do you remember when Ralphie May was on the Tom Joyner cruise and talked about
Do I?
not reading the room? And Ralphie May was a
And
white comedian, and Cameron, he came on the Tom Joyner cruise, and he came on stage, and then, as I said, not reading the room, this entire boat
Mm,
full of black folks, and he bombed so bad
wow.
that all the
hey,
ladies,
and I never root for a comedian to bomb, even though J. Anthony Brown said that's his favorite thing to
right,
see.
right.
He loves a good bombing, boy. That dude, nobody loves to see
It,
somebody bomb.
it makes him
But
so happy.
it it was twofold because when I heard Ralphie was booked, I'm like, who did that? Because Ralphie's
Right,
style is already cringe, right?
right.
He was a cringe when he rest in peace. But also that year I didn't get booked. I'm like, okay. And they got Ralphie May. Wait till this happens. And then he
Okay.
got on there.
And did
He
it
bombed so
happen?
hard that he didn't leave his room for the rest of the cruise.
I was
And
gonna
he's
say,
about, bruh, he was about 450, 500 pounds. So you know it had to be hard for him not to go and visit that buffet for all them days.
So
Um,
so so he had lost a lot of weight
oh, yeah, he had the
leading up to
surgery.
this, right? and so
Oh,
we saw him in the pizza spot, and
Hmm.
they just kept bringing slices of pizza over, and
oh,
black folks are like, I'm not looking at him, I'm not looking at him, you know. It's like, oh man, it was
And the worst thing about bombing on a cruise ship is you can't jump overboard. So
nowhere.
you got to be on there for the rest of the ship, man. And now every time you walk in the buffet, they're going to want to bomb right there. That's
Yep,
how.
yep.
yep.
And I'm surprised nobody got on the microphone. And now, standing over all of the suites is Ralphie May. It was, oh man, it was really bad.
And so
Oh
the
yeah.
thing of it was, Cameron, he told a joke about black people and slavery, and he's a fat white comedian on a ship and talking about a
Oh,
slave ship. And after
right.
that, there was no recovery.
No, he
Yeah.
could not come back. And it
No.
was, I mean, it was worse than crickets.
Wow.
And
It was,
you gotta be really terrible to bomb on the Tom Joyner cruises. Everybody's
right.
in such a good mood. Everybody really wants
Yeah.
to be happy. The only time you have a struggle with a Tom Joyner cruise is if you do one of those daytime parties on the beach and we start drinking at 10 a.m. You're out in the sun, then you come and sit in that first seating for a concert,
And
and
you
it's
hear,
John Legend just sitting behind his piano, and now the whole audience. We trying our best, but it's like if you don't hurry up and play "Ready to Go" right now, something upbeat, because
and
all
his
them ballads ain't
mom,
gonna get it, man.
and John Legend's mom was in the audience. It was really, it was like
On his
people
mom.
were trying to, stay awake and stay.
Man,
Oof,
come on, John.
come
Cause
on.
all of me loves all of you. Come on, ready to go right now. Come on, get to that, ready to go. Rearrange and set. Put it in the middle.
Oh my gosh, call it a night. There have been occasions like that, but Ralphie May will stay with me forever. And then he
Yes.
subsequently, as Damon mentioned, he subsequently passed away.
Mm.
It was there was no comeback from that, and it was just awful. But anyway, that's where we are with the comedians. And as Damon said, go to his IG, go to his Instagram, and you can see.
Please go take a look at that.
Take a look at it, please. Let's move to the What You Need to Know newsletter. Cameron is our political writer, contributor, and amongst the other contributors, with his younger sister is Quinn Townsend Riley. She's our LGBTQIA plus contributor. Coy Malone is our social justice. Aprilette Russell is our mental health and wellness contributor. And all these fine young people come together to lend their collective talents to the stories that they do. And Cameron today writes about the pushback from the United Nations against the ongoing Middle East war. And so, Cameron, um, this was an interesting story. It's quite involved, and so
Yeah.
kind of break it down for us in terms of what happened, and there's been an update today in the United
Oh, okay.
Nations. Yeah,
Great. Yeah. So, the United Nations, people whose job it is to kind of look at the world and see what's going on and do something if things get out of hand. Um, the Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez
hmm,
invoked a very rarely used power that pretty much is like saying, "Everybody, hold up, wait a minute, we need to do something now."
right.
Um, and he wanted everyone present to vote on a ceasefire and the Gaza Strip. He listed all of the atrocities endured on both sides. Um, and he stated, according to UN research, how physically impossible it is to get humanitarian aid into Gaza because the infrastructure uh, is so
So
messed up,
devastating. Yeah.
and how they would have to operate at 200% efficiency to get any sort of sustainable humanitarian aid. And because of that, um, this iteration of the war that it's in with the bombardments just has to stop. So they put that to a vote, and 13 members voted in favor. The United Kingdom abstained, and the United States voted no. As a matter of fact, they didn't just vote no; they vetoed the whole thing.
Right.
And as far as the UN goes, there are certain powers that have veto powers who, at any point in time, they can say, "Nah, we're not doing this." And the United States, the UK, China, and I want to say one other country has veto powers. And so because
The
the
big
United States,
five. Yeah.
right, and so because the United States vetoed, when the ceasefire was on the table, it was not on the table anymore. Their reasoning, which I had to look into, they said that the ceasefire document didn't condemn Hamas, and it did not acknowledge the humanitarian efforts that have gone underway so far. So it sounds like they were looking for some sort of participation
Some.
points in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, just for the world and the world's people to cry out for some sort of ceasefire, and then
And
for
that's what the UN is there for. I mean, there have been
right,
efforts on the part of the Trump administration to get out of the UN, to get out of NATO, and the UN is really a world of governments, of people representing governments, and fully represented in so many ways. But this war could destroy a lot of these things that other leaders, and I use the air quotes on that, have been trying to get rid of for a very long time, including the former president who wants that job again. Today, the UN General Assembly voted overwhelmingly to demand a humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza in a strong demonstration of global support for ending the Israel Hamas war. The vote shows the growing isolation of the United States and Israel. It's like, you all can stay over there, but
yep,
we are here to make it known. And the vote in 193 member world body was 153 in favor, 10 against, and 23 abstentions. The support
see,
was higher than for an October 27th resolution that called for a humanitarian truce, leading to the cessation of the hostilities. And that vote was 120 to 14, with 45 abstentions. After the United States voted a resolution on the Security Council Friday demanding humanitarian ceasefire, Arab and Islamic nations called for an emergency session of the whole 193 member group, making the same demand. And I don't know how this is going to end, and especially today, the president reportedly told Benjamin Netanyahu, that you got to do something. You've
right,
got to do something. We can only stand, so close to you, and not have some sort of objectability in this. You're our friends, and we've been down with the Israeli government for a very long time, but there's too many questions now. And the one thing that gets me, Cameron and Damon, is that they knew, and the New
right,
York Times report shows that Israel knew over a year ago what
well in
Hamas was
advance.
planning,
Yeah,
and they did nothing.
Yeah, and that, first of all, and I really honed in on you calling this the Israeli Hamas war, and that would be fine if they could directly target Hamas and their fighters,
Right,
and if they were
exactly.
a unified army military unit. But
right.
the civilians and the Palestinians over there are caught in the crossfire of this, and even if they are pro-Hamas, they didn't commit the atrocities, and little children and families being displaced and being denied aid is really, really atrocious. And therefore, America, to veto anything that could possibly stop that is kind of bogus on our part as
It
well.
really is. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah, and
but the money talks, and the Israeli. I won't even go any further into that, but the money talks. You follow the money in circumstances like this. And just like they allowed, or they said they knew, it's sort of like how we were able to trigger a war after 9/11.
Hmm.
Who's to say who knew or could have prevented that? But once it was on, it would gave us the right to invade, Iraq, and
Right.
that was found to be in error as well. So, this thing, who knows where it will end, because it's not a traditional war. It's not traditional warfare,
No,
and they're
it's
claiming
yeah,
that Hamas is intertwined within the civilian, but that doesn't mean you take the entire infrastructure out for an entire people that will take a decade to rebuild for it to even be livable. And that's the hard part of this.
and now
yeah,
today they're talking about. I don't know if you heard this, Cameron. The Israeli fighters are going to flood the caves, which
No,
could
I did not hear that.
endanger, obviously, the people who are being held by Hamas, unless they know where they are being held, and it doesn't seem like they do. Otherwise, they would have gone in and retrieved them. But it is the things that they are doing just doesn't make any sense. And I was telling someone the other day that I don't trust Benjamin Netanyahu as far as I could throw him, and he's a pretty hefty fellow, so he would just go right there.
Yes.
His conservatism and his need to stay out of jail because he is already under indictment for doing wrong in his administration. And I believe that this war was conceived in order to keep him out of jail, just as the president, former president of the United States, is doing whatever he can to stay out of jail, which in this case is to run for president and hoping for immunity.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you look at history, any president who wants to stay in power, I'm not gonna say they start a war, but they aren't in a hurry to end one.
Right, right, right. And that's why, that in the middle of the war in Ukraine and with Russia, Putin just announced that he's running for president again.
Naturally.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
the middle of this war. So it's like all of these despots are there, and it's like something has got to change in the way
Yeah.
that this world is run. And the people, and talking about the way that the Hamas soldiers and Hamas people have, terrorists, call them, have raped women and girls and children and abused the elderly. Uh, Israeli people, it's so disturbing, and you've got to get out of this. You've got to figure out another way, but get out of this and call a ceasefire, call a truce, call something. And Joe Biden, you're about to, your numbers are already not looking good. I don't know what sticking with Israel is going to do for you in the coming year.
Yeah. I mean, like this was. I mean, the American people are already critiquing the Biden administration for not being tough on Israel, and I'm
Right,
disappointed in President Biden and Secretary Anthony Blinken for not bossing up to Israel
right,
and saying if that something has to be done. I mean, people on my side of like the left, radical left, are like, okay, like after this, we're done.
yeah,
If
yeah,
there's anyone else on the ticket, okay.
right,
And,
right.
and not only are we expressing support, we are financially contributing to these atrocities being committed against those citizens. So it's a really, really tough situation. I'm no geopolitical expert, but I do know that if you're doing something that creates hardships for millions of people or thousands of people that are not your enemy, then that's atrocious.
Right. And
Yeah.
my heart breaks for those people, the mothers and their children who are still being held, and but something has got to be done, and not at the expense of these people who were just innocent victims of all of this. These are
Absolutely.
the kinds of stories that we talk about in the What You Need to Know newsletter. I ask you to please take a look at the story I did about the lies that and the price, the lies that he told and the price that he has to pay. He being Rudy Giuliani, regarding two black women who were the Georgia election workers, and they have taken him to court for fraud and for defaming them. And now they are at the monetary settlement part of this, and they are asking them to settle for somewhere between 15 and 43 million dollars.
Yeah.
And not
GOP,
that
write that check.
I don't know if he has it. He's been crying broke for a long time, so they're gonna have to dig and find a way for them. He's definitely not going to get it from Donald Trump.
Yeah,
Um,
that's if his main client would pay some of his legal bills.
right, right. The man who got him there in the first place. So please take a look at our newsletter. We'd love to have you subscribe. Please go to SybilWilkes.com. Give us your name and your email address, and we'll have it in your email box every Monday through Friday morning. And if you are receiving it, please open it and take a look at the stories that we have worked so hard to bring you. It's now time for the question of the day. What's really going on? Christmas is quickly approaching. We are just days away. What are we, about 13 days away, less than 2 weeks? Christmas approaching. We recently had Santa's List Day, checking the list and, making the list and checking it twice. Who do
Mhm.
you put on your naughty list and nice list? And so that's the question. Who do you put on your naughty list and who do you put on your nice list? And this could be a personal or a public figure. This could be a personal acquaintance of yours, someone who done you wrong, or it could be a public figure. And we'd love to hear from everyone if you do have already put together, or just off the top of your head, who do you think should be on the naughty list, and who do you think should be on the nice list? And I'll start with you guys being on the nice list
Sure.
because I really appreciate your coming on and giving of your time and your brain power and your energy, your intelligence and your senses of humor to participate. So thank you very much.
Thank
And the
you.
first person that comes to mind for me for the nice list has got to be, she had, due to mental health reasons, she had bowed out of competition, but she came back the following year, dominating. And I mean, Simone Biles, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and she had declared openly that she's back in her element and she's going to sweep the Olympics again in 4 years,
Yeah,
just
she's back.
calling it out. Yeah,
Right.
man. And like no one, after the controversies and people saying, oh, that she's not an athlete and that she needs to knuckle up and all of that, she came back immediately and showed up and showed out.
Right.
And she had nothing to prove to anyone but herself,
And she did
and
that thing. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
And got
she showed up
married
for her
this
team.
year. Who's mad at
Yes,
her?
yeah. So Simone Biles is killing it, really just like living her life, and just really redefining what like the personal battles of athleticism and being
Yeah.
on the public stage means.
Absolutely. I don't know what kind of treatment she sought, or if this was just and that's obviously very, private and what she wants to keep between her and her doctors and her medical staff. But she has just blossomed, and and not taking any crap from anybody. She's a tough little chick from Houston,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
she's representing and making us very proud. Absolutely, that's the nice
yeah.
list. Damon, are you a nice list or a naughty list guy?
Well, I could do both, but nothing as insightful as and thoughtful as Cameron just did. So I'm going to go with Diddy and 50. I'm going to put 50 on the nice list because he's all up in Diddy's, you dig. And definitely Diddy is on the naughty list. So Diddy and 50 are my choices. I also want to put my wife on the list, and I hope she's on both sides of that list as well. Hey. It'd be nice to be naughty, baby. Give it up for Naughty by Nature. Hooray! Ho! Hey!
And you guys, when's your wedding anniversary?
New Year's Eve.
So what number is this?
This will be 8 married, and like 14 plus going into 15 together. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Time flies.
Really does. And they did it on stage, Khameron, at the Starplex.
Star Plaza Theater. So what I did, Cameron, the previous year, I surprised her with a proposal during my show. We brought her on stage. She had no idea why. And I dropped down and I gave her the ring. And Dollar Bill, my DJ, played Love on Top, which is our favorite song together. Yeah. And it was amazing. I invited all her family, secretly. Her moms and her siblings were all there and everybody. And then the following year, we actually surprised our audience with our wedding vow ceremony on the show as well. And we had John Hinton on the show. He's from Living Single. So after his set, he walked off to the song Living Single. And I said, stop the music. I'm tired of living single. And then they revealed our setup and we did the whole thing. Yes. Yeah. So I didn't have to pay for a wedding. And the reception was the after party. It was her idea, though. It was literally her idea. She was like, since we got married, plus her son was about to be deployed in Kuwait, so we had to rush the wedding date. So he was able to be there, and it was magical. Like I said, our reception, you had to get a ticket to get in.
Right. Keep all the riffraff out. That was pretty brilliant. pretty brilliant. That was awesome. Awesome. So people who would like to participate in our naughty list or nice list, we'd love to hear from you. It can be either or public or private acquaintance. You don't have to give all the information. You just give us your name and the first name of that person. Or if you want to go full on, we'll accept that too. Although Janice Eatman on Facebook says naughty list, mainstream media who continue to talk up Tupe Fiasco as a candidate. They should be honest about where anyone with 91 exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point indictments needs to go. Be honest about where he needs to go. And that's the real 91 indictments. That's historic. And
Wow.
what gets me, and I know that we shouldn't take a lot of these polls, especially now, very seriously, but
Yeah.
it seems as though the polls are doing more damage to the overall future of this country. And people are like, well, what's the point of voting if, all these people are already saying over 50% that they're going to vote and that that they know now the importance of voting that they didn't know, that they didn't assume that someone would have the audacity to come in and take the White House from him.
Yeah, I mean, Donald Trump's always been like a creature of the polls. I mean, any sort of publicity you give this man, any sort of mention of him, and he benefits anyway. Likewise, we can never truly know whether this is good data or bad data, especially on right-wing news channels and things like that. So I agree. Like, it's very discouraging to hear that he has such a landslide of a lead over any of the kiddie table candidates, and then every week polls come up with a lower number for Joe Biden's approval ratings.
Yeah. It's like I don't know how the slide goes, but it's disheartening, and we are just about a month away from the Iowa caucuses. We'll try to explain that at some point. But that's where all Iowans will come together and they will caucus and try to present, who their favorite, and it's the Republicans that will come together and, try to, caucus in favor of one candidate over another. And it'll be interesting to see who's left by then.
Yeah, I mean, my money's on Nikki Haley leaves DeSantis in the dust. And then Chris Christie jumps DeSantis.
I am of a mind, because I've been influenced by people who live in South Carolina and have said what a disaster she was as a governor when it came to the Confederate flag and her really, if you watched her at the beginning of this campaign, how she was really Team Trump. It's like, why are you running? Why? Well, you just want to be vice president in this case. And now, she's starting to get a little traction. And the people that are giving her the money, the Koch family, for that major super PAC, they hate Donald Trump, or do they? And why are they giving her all this money if she is really just aiming for the White House as number 2?
Well, I think that Coke and Pepsi and McDonald's, all Republican super donors, know that Donald Trump's going to have a heart attack or go into diabetic shock pretty soon. So they need to put a competent person.
That bucket of chicken is finally going to take him out, huh?
Yeah.
It's sad that in this country that we have this two-party system that has been so marginalized to the point where you got to pick one or the other, and there are no viable candidates, even though there are people that we believe in their mission and their platforms, but they don't stand a chance against the big money and the corrupt situation that our campaign system is. But it's the system we have. It's also shameful that Donald Trump is a front runner amongst that group of people. But what it boils down to really is you never know what's going to happen in the voting booth. And a lot of people will publicly proclaim they're with one thing or another, but secretly in that booth, they will do things. And that goes for both ways. A lot of black people are starting to talk Trumpism and saying, man, I had money when Trump was in office and, things was good, and man, fake news. I'm like, are you falling for the banana in the tailpipe? Are you drinking the Kool-Aid as well? And you have your right to pick what you feel is your best interest, but it's just surprising with all the vile things and some of the ways he's shown, to be racially insensitive, to be elitist as far as his beliefs on who gets what as far as money goes.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he told them blatantly, yes, there are loopholes in the tax code, and I used every last one of
Every
them.
last one.
Change the code. I'm not going to change my behavior. And then the thing is, we just need a Jedi mind trick. Anything you try to tell Trump he can't do or shouldn't do, he'll immediately try to do it. So if we said there's no way Donald Trump would ever see the light and step down, if we just kept saying that, there's no way he would ever. Donald Trump can't do that. He's not built like that. He'd be like, yeah, I am. Watch, I'll step down. And then and he won't even realize that he stepped down. Like, oh, damn it. We just have to rewire his head and get him out of there.
Yeah. It's crazy how close we are to the end of democracy as we may know it in this country. And people are just kind of blindly going along. But I hope that, as you say, Damon, that the conscience does take over once we get in there into the voting booth. Talking naughty and nice. Who's on your list? Who's on the naughty list? Who's on the nice list? And a shout out to our two guys here, to Khameron and to Damon and to Med, who had a previous engagement about being on my nice list, the naughty list. I could go like maybe 200 people from the House alone, from the U.S. House. But it's and that's political, so maybe that's not right. Aubrey W on YouTube says, I think Jada and Will should be on the naughty list because I'm sick of them both. And my mama will always be on my nice list. Good son. Good son.
That'll do it.
It's very nice. Very nice.
I was thinking about Jada and Will too, and I was like, okay. I mean, Will probably more historically naughty than Jada is. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely both on the naughty list for sure.
And Will was always the nicest nice guy that would have been on that list until the smack and the puppet master. But that's a rough one. They just need to go private, and I know she has a book to sell, but they just need to go private with it. And now she made another statement or another statement surfaced where she said the slap really opened her eyes about Will, and that from that moment on she knew she could never leave him. And then in the next interview, she's like, I was surprised that he even called me his wife because we've been apart for 6 years.
Right. And they met up to go to the Oscars that night. So it's like, what are you doing?
I got to put Prince Harry on my nice list because the royal family's threatening to pull his security detail now. And he has every right to just go ham and walk through the royal palace and just start, just smacking people around. But he decided to go on about the proper channels and sue them, with his own money, probably.
For sure. Yeah. And so he might be getting backup from somebody, in Hollywood. I don't know, but
probably cashing in on the book deal as we speak.
Well, they've had a couple of really mega million deals, so I do hope that they end up with where they want to be. I think that the racism is real in the royal family, and I think that they deserve to have a happy ending, and they lived happily ever after. I'm not so sure about the people that are still in the castle, in the royal family, but I do think that they are deserving.
Yeah, Prince Harry behaving like royalty, although royalty no longer.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And then go on and have a happy life. I just think that is so. So Michael Stallworth, a friend on the nice list, a lady named Elizabeth, for encouraging me to take my time about whatever decision I choose about living where I grew up or leaving. Okay. So, and that's sometimes,
that's a tricky one.
People put you under, a lot of pressure. We need to know. And somebody recognizing this person isn't ready to make a decision. Take your time, make your pros and your cons and decide what you're going to do, because the last thing you want, or is not the last thing, but to make a decision that doesn't work for you. But as my mom said, that's why God made erasers. You go, it doesn't work for you, then move on to the next. But good for you, Michael, for recognizing that somebody was trying to help you and whether to stay in the old or move on to the new. And I hope that you feel comfortable in whatever your decision is. That
Yeah.
is it for our naughty or nice list, and we may revisit that at some time before we get closer to Christmas. As I said, we're less than 2 weeks out now. Um, let's move to trending. Damon, you are in St. Louis tonight. Where are you going to be?
The Helium Comedy Club. A guy Tori is doing a revival of his Fat Tuesdays,
Hmm.
which was a historic Black night at the Comedy Store in LA, which went on to be a three-part series documentary.
Really
And
good.
now he wants to do it. Yeah, it's a great one. It would have been better if I was in it. And then he kept saying, "Oh man, how did we forget? Like, yeah, how did you forget?" But here I am in St. Louis, working with Guy, another spinoff from the Tom Jordan Morning Show.
That's right.
Um, but he and I and Coco Brown are doing the show tonight in Helium, so that's going to be great. Then another disciple from Tom, Dominique, will be at Riddles this weekend.
Awesome.
So looking forward to hanging out with her, and she's so funny. She did Martha's Vineyard this past summer, and she killed it. So that's what's trending in my world.
And how about the weekend with our friend Kim Whitley? I hope everything went well there.
Yes, of course. Kim, she killed it. She's a natural. She's so hilarious. And her and J. Anthony Brown and Sherry, they always they kind of nervous about doing it, and then they come and destroy the place. And she and I had some great time roasting each other. She said I look like a thumb. Um, she said I was gonna give that to him back in the day, but what are you gonna do with all this? He looks like a little thumb.
Oh, Kim Whitley.
Yes, she was very gracious and very hilarious.
She is. She really is. Sad news to report for people in the Dallas, Texas area. The first Black DA for Dallas County, Texas, has died. His name was Craig Watkins. He helped restore the faith in the justice system by freeing wrongfully imprisoned inmates. Watkins, who served as Dallas County's district attorney from 2007 to 2015, passed away Tuesday morning at his home in Dallas. He was 56 years old.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Wow.
And officials are remembering him as a trailblazer for using DNA to look at old cases and people who had been wrongfully convicted and imprisoned for years. That from Judge Clay Jenkins. Through that and other programs, he restored many people's faith in the justice system in Dallas County. And after leaving, he lost his reelection bid. He returned to private practice, but it really was a stunner today to see the report about his untimely death, obviously at 56.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You just
Very
don't want to
sad.
see that. Very sad. But he did turn things around, and I know there were some difficulties and some issues within his office, but he was a real trailblazer, and especially in a town like this, where there were so many people who were unjustly imprisoned and unjustly convicted for crimes they did not commit. And there's a special
Sybil,
place in heaven.
they hate to see us in those like district attorney roles, those state
Yep.
attorney roles, because the first thing I'm doing is cracking open the case files and saying, "Yeah, that doesn't add up. Pull this
Right.
one. Yep,
Right.
that makes sense. Pull this
Give me
one."
the DNA on this, and give me the cops information on that, and that's what he did. They went right to work.
Yep.
And
That
thank
was
God for those scientific advances that have been able to
right.
exonerate so many people in Chicago. My son is working with the Chicago Police Torture Project, where they're helping reintegrate people who were falsely accused and tortured into confessions, and now receiving help and treatment and
Hmm.
reentry into society. And it's really crazy to hear that in the year 2006, prior to 7, there had never been a Black DA. We still doing first Blacks.
Yeah.
Whenever we celebrate, it's frustrating to me when we celebrate, man, the first Black, district county judge, or the first Black, and we 2,000, years, the country's 400 years into
Right.
our slavery, and 300 years in existence almost, and it's crazy, man.
It is
Yeah.
bizarre that and people are like, I don't want to observe it. Well, I want to celebrate it, but it's hard to believe, like you say, Damon, that we're so far along in our history, and still the first is still out there.
I mean, we just got Juneteenth. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And once we get into those positions, they be trying to expedite our removal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. It's sort of like when Roe versus Wade was passed in the 70s. The hardcore conservatives went right to work to figuring out how to get
Yep.
the judiciary together in the Texas, I'm sorry, the Supreme Court, to change the rules and change the makeup of the court so that, however long it took, we're going to do it. However long it takes to get them out of there, however long it takes for us to to recuse people of certain things. That's what we got to do. We
Yeah.
absolutely have
And
to do.
and that was one of the most underrated, so for a better lack of a better term, aspects of Donald Trump's term that we
Hmm.
don't really deal with. People
Right?
talk
We
about
don't
the
talk about it.
economy and
Yeah.
they talk about the COVID, but the judges that he
Yeah.
appointed,
He
Courts
pointed.
are stacked now.
yeah,
Yep. And that's why that's what they're trying to make people understand, that by putting people in now that Joe Biden has reached a certain level of the numbers of people and the number of Black people that he has appointed to the judiciary, is record setting, and we have to recognize what that means in the long run. It might not have an effect on your life today or tomorrow, but down the road, your children, or someone a family member, or just a neighbor or an acquaintance, will be affected by who is the judge in that case. You look at what's going on with Donald Trump today. A woman, Judge Tanya Chutkin, over one of the Trump cases, appointed by Obama, Mr. President Obama, and other people. Beryl Howell, who is over the Giuliani case, appointed by President Obama. And so this, you're getting some sort of balance here in
Yeah.
history and in decision making. So,
and
You
um,
know one.
sometimes it's not just down the road; it's if you on the road because you go to traffic court.
Yeah.
okay,
You
okay,
you might want to see a good brown skinned judge sitting up there who's
you know.
sympathetic to your case when you tell him, man, you don't understand. My mama said, if I don't get them, anyway.
Right.
Um,
And it's not, injustice is just us that you see,
right.
behind bars. So,
I was
Cameron,
going
Indeed.
to
you were going
say,
to say?
one person these appointments of judges did not benefit. Um, Jussie Smollett.
Oh, Juicy
Appealed denied.
Smollett.
Yeah, so Juicy
But the
Smollett.
DA did try to help him out. It just,
Dimmadome, yeah.
yeah, tried, but
Appeal
just,
denied, though. See
yeah.
you later, buddy.
Check this out, you guys. Fentanyl seized in North Carolina traffic stop, but this was no small time bust. The sheriff's officials report they seized enough of the fentanyl that was mixed with cocaine that could kill every person in North Carolina more than 2 times over. 2 people are in jail after the Iredell County Sheriff's Office seized almost 210 pounds of a suspected fentanyl mixed with cocaine during the traffic stop Sunday. The 2 people, one from Mexico, one from New Mexico, were traveling on the road from Charlotte to Philadelphia in a tractor trailer when they were stopped by the county sheriff's department. And the canine, Groot, indicated the
Oh,
presence of narcotics in the tractor trailer. After searching the vehicle, they found 120 pounds of the suspected fentanyl
Hmm.
mixed with cocaine and had a street value of almost $4 million.
no way.
120 pounds of this, enough to kill every person in the state of North Carolina 2 times over.
And I
Whoa.
wonder who is concocting their drugs with fentanyl. Fentanyl will kill your customers, and isn't the
The
whole thing of
idea is to keep them
marketing
coming back, right?
that return customers? I mean, if you that's the baffling part. Not to
Yeah, that's the
mention the fact
bizarre
that
part of it to me, too, Damon. Yeah.
yeah,
I,
That
I,
is
if you
that's
know it's deadly, why are you incorporating fentanyl? Now I know it gives it a boost to make it stronger, the drug stronger, but it kills
not
people.
there goes your customer base. And I don't mean to be flip. I know how serious this is, but you're right, Damon. It doesn't make sense that you would do it, so much so that you would kill people. It's
Yeah,
just
that was the
yeah.
thing about crack, the comeback. They give
Right.
you one little rock and get you hooked. Then you had a whole crack line. Um,
Yes.
but it's sad, that greed and people have such disregard. And the only reason why they're really cracking down on it is because it's also hitting suburban situations. The opioid crisis is, is universal, and it's suburban, and it's everywhere. And so otherwise they let all that bad dope come in the 70s for
Yeah.
Oh
years and
yeah.
years and look the other way. And then brought it in themselves according to Snowfall. Uh, and the Reagan Contra hearings, we know that they incorporated drugs into the community. So
Right.
this country, this world we live in, you just got to take care of your people, man, and then hope you can do more for the world. But you really got to be diligent with your children and young people that are susceptible to drug usage, and the society that promotes it right now with music and things of that nature to keep them safe.
Yeah. What
Yeah,
we're
I
trying to
get
do
it.
is
Go ahead.
I
I'm
was gonna say
sorry, Cameron.
what we're trying to do in the community anyway is because we can't get the dealers to stop dealing it, right? We can't really get them to stop pushing it. But what we can do is give out free fentanyl test kits so that they
Right.
can know if
Mm,
their drugs are laced with fentanyl, and so they can be better informed about that choice. Should they snort or pill pop or inject,
right.
etc.
Wow. And a little bit at a time, doesn't need to take the whole thing.
Yeah, that's
I
all you need.
understand why the Chinese want to, send fentanyl here and make it easier for people to get because they want to take over, right?
Right.
So it makes sure, it makes sense. It makes sense, and for sure, that's why they are doing the things they're doing, making it easier for people to ship it into this country. But for your dealers, it is like it just doesn't make any sense to me.
And
And
Yeah,
the
no revolving
Chinese
door effect.
the Chinese really should just ship more weed, because weed at least will slow people down. You know what I mean? Nobody's super productive off weed. You ain't got
No,
to
they're
kill
not.
everybody. Just get everybody stoned, get everybody high and hungry and slow. And so they'll all eat fast food and doze off, and then you can make your supercomputer chips or whatever the
and
hell
and
you're doing.
and then they can and then you'll make $1 zillion with the soul brother special, as they used to call it, which is shrimp fried rice. um
Yeah. Mix the weed with some MSG, and
yeah,
who
yeah,
knows? Everybody's burnt
come
out.
on,
Yeah.
everybody's
You
happy.
got it. Yeah.
um Following up on a report, this happened yesterday when I was in New York, and part of a 7-story residential building in the Bronx collapsed, just
Yeah.
collapsed, leaving apartments exposed and walls sheared off as firefighters searched the debris for hours for anyone who might have been trapped. The commissioner of the fire department said it was a miracle that no one was found trapped in the rubble after firefighters and emergency crews searched for hours. The building had 7 active violations related to the facade and the sidewalk shed, according to the Department of Buildings. But just to see it, and there was like a car that was the scaffolding was up outside of the building, and it was kind of covering the area where a car was parked. And luckily, this person saw people running away from the collapse and moved the car and did a reverse in the car and
Wow.
say, I honestly believe they saved that person's life to see
Yeah.
the building come down on them like that. It really was a miracle.
Yeah.
Happened
Wow.
in the Bronx. Yes.
They say the Leaning Tower of Pisa is supposed to fall like any
Yeah.
day now.
And they're just gonna let it go.
Yeah.
It's like,
Insane.
Right. You can't put counterweights or nothing.
right. Just, well, get a sumo wrestler or something and just push it up against it. Just hold it. I don't know. Get some bad pizzas and just stack them up and push them up.
Or just
I,
like put the rock like right there.
Right.
You know, just like leave him there. He'll be all right.
I've really been wanting to do this story, and I come to the end. I promise I'm gonna, but I just want you all to think about this, and we're gonna come back to it. Did you see the story about the Jacksonville football accountant who stole $22 million from the Jacksonville Jaguars team?
No.
No.
Yes. He used the money to fund online gambling, pay for private travel and accommodation for himself and friends, as well
Dude.
as sporting events. He bought himself a fancy $96,000 car. He bought himself a watch. He bought himself a Tesla to drive. His name is Amit Patel. And now and when they found out what was going on, then he went into rehab for gambling.
Yeah.
Yeah, he purchased
You think
That,
everything is so
cryptocurrency.
stupid?
He is alleged to have bought the Patek Philippe Nautilus watch. It was $96,000, paying the entire price with the proceeds of his fraud scheme. Two, $22 million.
and that just goes to show you how much money is in athletics and sports that they didn't miss it. It took up to 22 million before they missed it.
Right.
And also the gambling being infused and being
Industry, yes.
pushed and marketed to people now is
Mm.
out of control.
Yep.
You know, it used to be you had to keep sports and athletes away from gambling, but now the fan it's right at your fingertip, and it's being advertised during the games. They're pushing it, and it's gonna definitely change some outcome of some games. Even if you're an athlete and you didn't bet, but you got a brother like, hey brother, I'm really in a hole with these people. I need you to
Yeah.
fumble a ball in the third quarter, or it shouldn't be married to sports like that. Even though it's always been for it to be incorporated and encouraged, and then at the end of it, they'll say, you're having a gambling problem. Why do we have this gambling problem? We just had 17 commercials about
Right.
gambling, and
Right.
they make it look so glamorous. Even the casinos, every casino commercial looks like a fantastic thing to do. The dice go in slow motion. They have on tuxedos and evening gowns. You
Beautiful
go to any
women.
casino.
Yeah.
Yeah, any casino is senior citizens in there on oxygen, just spinning in retirement. Just they'll prop them up. They let them smoke. The kids are calling, Granny, where you at? Bring a ling a ling. Don't worry about where I am. It's sad how they market casinos
So
and
Damon,
all this gambling.
how it's becoming a part of the culture is the Mark Cuban just sold his
Oh, he
portion
sold his stake
of
in the
the
Mavs.
Dallas Mavericks, yeah, for
Whoa,
Yeah,
$3 billion
$3 billion, not bad.
to
right.
a gambling family, like
Conglomerate.
a
Yeah.
family of gambling. And
Mark
so
Cuban's a
they're
flipper.
trying to
He
they're
is a
trying to
flipper.
bring it to the Dallas Fort Worth area. Let's move to entertainment. Performing with Mariah Carey and Ariana Grande felt like a Christmas gift, according to Jennifer Hudson, after Carey surprised the crowd with the two vocalists for a performance of their "Oh Santa" remix during her Merry Christmas One and All tour stop at Madison Square Garden over the weekend. Hudson reflected on the experience during the latest episode of the Jennifer Hudson Show. She said, I ended up going to New York because Miss Mariah Carey, she always comes up with a big, great idea. She came up with the idea that her Christmas angels, Ariana Grande and myself, would be a surprise for her at the Madison Square Garden performance. And what a lovely surprise it was. And they first teamed up to sing the song back in 2020 on her Old Santa soundtrack and the Mariah Carey's Magical Christmas special on Apple TV will be a part of this. And this is the remix's first live performance by the three grand dames. So,
Incredible. Jennifer Hudson's had a great career. She's been through a lot too.
yeah. Oh, for
Been through
Yeah.
a
sure.
lot,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
she laid
Absolutely.
down her feet very well.
And now a successful talk show, and she's an EGOT.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Yeah.
it all
And she's
goes.
landed on common ground.
Oh, hello, but I'm free. and, and will we see her on the Shy in the next season? I don't know. Um, Let us close out with this jewel. Having a pure heart leads to genuine connections. Having a pure heart leads to genuine connections. That's you, Damon, and you're going out to connect with the people of St. Louis tonight. Go out there and have fun and tell our friend
Amen to
Guy we
that.
said what's up.
I
Mhm.
will do so. And you have a pure heart, and that's why we're here with you every Tuesday because we love you.
I appreciate the love. I thank you for it and send it right back to you guys, and in multiple amounts. Thank you, Cameron. You guys go out there and be good to each other, and we'll see you all again soon. Take care. Aloha.